Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a Japanese-only PS1 game, and that happens to be Mad Panic Coaster. And it is developed and published by Hakuhodo, and was released in 1997. So if you want to know what type of game this is, well, that's kind of hard to explain, because this game is unlike most other games that I've played. Probably the closest thing that I can think of would be a mix of a rail shooter and a constantly runner type of game. But even then, I don't know if that would be accurate, but either way, this is definitely going to be one of the weirder ones we're going to be taking a look at. So when you first turn on the game, the first thing you see is a rock concert going on, and what you see here is a skeleton playing a pizza box guitar, an alien playing a cat bass, and an ice cream monster just playing the regular ass drums. And all I have to say here is that if you want to make yourself a rock band, sorry to break it to you, but you'll never reach this peak. But anyways, now let's start talking about the main event here, which happens to be the gameplay, and yeah, as you can tell, this game actually has no story whatsoever. So you play as two kids riding on a roller coaster of death, and once you get down on the first slope, that's where the game begins. So you're riding this dangerous roller coaster and you have to avoid all the objects and get around the track 3 times. And there's a lot of enemies and obstacles that you get to shoot at. So you have a close range shot and then you have a long range shot. And you can jump in this game, and yeah, doesn't that seem kind of weird that you get to jump off a roller coaster? That doesn't seem really safe, doesn't it? Then again, in the Donkey Kong Country games, you can also jump with the minecart in the minecart levels, but I think it's pretty obvious that this game is not meant to be realistic whatsoever. So once you get around the track 3 times, you get to clear the level, or sometimes you get to fight a boss. But when it's a level where you have to fight a boss, the track ends up splitting up, and then you have to go over this one little circular track, and you got to shoot at the boss multiple times. So that's all you really have to do in Mad Panic Coaster. It's actually a very simple arcade-style game. It kind of makes me wonder why they didn't make an arcade version of this game. I think it would have worked perfectly, especially if it was a cart that you get to go in and drive. But anyways, there's 15 levels throughout the game, and this game is definitely easier said than done. And I'll get to why in a bit, so for now, let's start talking about the controls. So the controls in this game, for the most part, are actually not bad. So the button layout is very easy to understand, the shooting is very responsive, the jumping is also pretty responsive, but the turning in this game does take some time to get used to. And the main reason why I say that is because this game goes so fucking fast it's unreal. I swear, I think this game is even faster than Sonic the Hedgehog, Back to the Future 3, and F-Zero X all put together. Because you really don't want to fall off the ledge in this game. In fact, that's probably going to be your biggest enemy since there's no barrier at any point. So you really got to get used to its speed since most of the time you're probably going to be going back and forth on the D-pad. But don't press left or right too hard or else you might go over the edge. But the one good thing is that if you hold down on the D-pad, you can actually brake a bit. Now, of course, you're still going pretty fucking fast, but it does slow it down quite a bit. But one quick thing I should mention about this game is that I have noticed some frame rate drops that did happen. Now, it didn't always happen, but whenever it did happen, usually it was either kind of helpful in a way, since it was like, oh, I'm almost going over the edge, gotta hold D-pad on the other way, and it actually ended up working out well. Or sometimes it kind of fucked me over because I didn't jump at the right time. But I don't think you should worry about it too much, it didn't happen to me too often. But I should mention it since it is noticeable. But as for the overall controls, I do find that they are pretty good for the most part. I just think the turning could have been adjusted better to the speed of the game. So now, when it comes to the game's graphics, I think they actually look really good. So the game is very bright and colorful and has a really cool art style to it. I think it looks very 80s punk, and it has a lot of neat settings within the game. So you get a typical haunted castle, a snowy mountain, a green forest, an LSD garden with mushrooms, a beach level with some underwater segments, and many, many more. But one thing that is cool is that you'll never see the same enemy in one stage and another stage. So you have a ton of different enemies in the game, and I do find that their designs of them are pretty crazy as to be expected. And I do find that the mix of 3D and 2D sprites really does work well for this game. So I really don't have any complaints about this game, but I really do think it is a pretty nice looking PS1 game, especially one that came out in 1997. So that's pretty great. So now, when it comes to the game's music, the music in this one is just really awesome. So all the songs in this game have that punk rock sound, which not only suits the game, but also sounds just really fucking good. So if you want a video game OST that has some really high energy, fast paced guitar riff music, then yes, this is definitely it. and I have no complaints whatsoever about the music since I just love all of it so much. But one thing I did find to be kind of amusing when I first played the game is that at the beginning of each stage you go up the roller coaster and the song that plays during that part almost sounds like the beginning part of Master of Puppets from Metallica, which I thought was amusing. But either way, I find that the music in this game is pretty awesome. So now, if you want to go out and buy this game, unfortunately this game is pretty damn expensive. And I only found 2 on eBay, and it's funny, last time I checked a couple days ago from now, I actually saw 3 of them, and now there's only 2. So the 2 ones that are on there are $100 and $120. The one that was sold not that long ago was like $80, so that's probably why. And because this game is only released in Japan, it's very likely that you're not going to find it around here. So not only is this game pretty expensive, but as for the type of game it is, I think that kind of money is just not worth it to me. But if you do just want to play it, you can always just use emulation and such. Since, you know, it's just a lot easier and shit and doesn't cost you an arm and a leg just to play something. So now, as for my overall thoughts on this game is that this game is very unique and I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. I mean, yeah, we've had like endless runners and shit, but this is nothing like that. But despite it being a very unique experience, I will say that this game definitely does have some issues. Like I mentioned before, the turning in this game does take some time to get used to since this game goes fast as fuck. And if you played this game not knowing anything about it, you're pretty much going to be stuck not knowing what to do since there's no tutorial level or anything like that. Like when I first played it, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, so I had to stop playing for a bit and I had to look it up. Thank you so much, Internet. So because of that, it's not really beginner friendly. But after some trial and error, you do get used to the game and then you realize what it's all about. And one minor complaint I do have is that every time you die, you have to see the game over screen, which takes some time to get forward, and of course you can't skip it, and then you gotta press continue, and then you gotta wait until the stage starts up again by climbing up the roller coaster, and yeah, it just takes a while for it to continue. But the good news about this is that at least you do get unlimited continue, so at least when you do get a game over, you never have to start all the way back from the very beginning of the game. So with that said, this was definitely a really interesting game to play. And I did have some fun with it, but I wouldn't say it's an overly amazing game or it's like a must-own or anything like that, especially at a price tag of over $100. And like I said before, this pretty much does feel like a very arcade-style game, and just for something like that, yeah, no thanks. I'll stick to playing it on my emulator. But would I recommend this game? Well, I would at least recommend emulating it first, since, you know, you don't want to pay $100 for a game that you might not like. But if you do want to play something that's really over the top and really crazy and something that is unlike anything else before, then yeah, it's at least worth a play. And I did find it to be pretty fun after getting used to everything. But I would still say that the music in this game is probably my favorite part. So with that being said, this might be one of the most strangest games on the PS1. Okay, well maybe not as strange as something like LSD Dream Emulator or Choa Nikki, but still strange enough to raise some eyebrows, so that'll be the end of this review, so thank you for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.
Oh!